Today I'm going to present on behalf of myself and my co-author John McCormack our paper Message Ritual, a Posthuman Account of Living with LAMP. So as we all know, the field of human-computer interaction traditionally involves the design and development of interfaces that sit in between people and computers. However, as technology becomes further and further entangled into daily life, the paradigms of machine interface user begin to break down. So we might ask, who exactly is the user? The term user implies that there are also periods of non-use and that agency is exerted only in one direction. But also, where is the interface? This question becomes more difficult to answer as we move from screen-based towards embedded or embodied computing. So as a response to this, a number of HCI researchers have turned to relational ontologies to form a new framework in HCI, also known as Entanglement HCI or the fourth wave. Posthumanism is kind of encompasses a lot of diverse but complementary approaches, and it encompasses the decentering of the human and the relinquishing of dualistic categories such as nature, culture, subject, object. And it really is an approach that applies to everything. It doesn't concern the distant future or the near future, it's really about today. So when applying this lens to HCI, it brings us to the conclusion that in designing interfaces, really what we are designing are the relationships between humans and technology, where these relationships not only influence our perceptions, our beliefs, our realities, these relationships actually define us. So with this research, what I'm trying to do is to design relationships between humans and technology that are meaningful, intentional, challenging, unexpected, and that ultimately explore new possibilities. And I guess to offer, as well an alternative to the relationships we currently have with AI technologies. So our work, Message Ritual, is an ambient AI system that is designed to be lived with. Rather than treating memory like a database of moments that can be sorted and retrieved, this work acknowledges that the past is malleable. So the system is embodied in a table lamp, and when the lamp is switched on, it listens in on conversations occurring within the home. Each morning, the members of the household are sent a machine-generated message that is based off of the previous day's conversation. So we recruited 10 participants across 4 households to live with the lamp for 2 weeks. The participants were asked to incorporate the lamp into their daily routine. And at the end of the study, we did a semi-structured interview about their experiences, setting out to understand the entanglements between LAMP participants and obviously ourselves as designers and researchers. A diffractive analysis, in this case, or in our case, takes into account how the relationship between the subjects of inquiry and the apparatus employed to measure them results in the phenomena observed. So we can see that in a thematic analysis, as I'm sure we're all very familiar with, that is also an apparatus through which we, in a sense, measure reality. And adopting a posthuman approach here, we're allowed to view that phenomenon, so the results of the study, as a product not solely emerging from just participants living with the lamp, but from the entanglement of all the actors in the assemblage. And in knowing this, it means we can better trace how the phenomenon came to be, including and most especially our accountability as researchers and designers, and in acknowledging as well that the apparatus is not invisible, objective, or even neutral, but co-constitutes the reality that's observed. So using this approach, we gathered a number of insights about the lamp's role and the effect of domestic AI technologies more generally. So firstly, participants found themselves carving out time for more in-depth conversations centered around the lamp. The lamp also offered reliable moments of structured time in the having of the conversations and the reading of the messages. Interestingly, some of the participants described their recent efforts to reduce the amount of time they spend on their phones. And this discussion kind of brought about interesting perspectives on the interplay between human agency and machine agency and the kind of material interventions we employed to negotiate this relationship. In terms of memory, the messages prompted participants to recollect moments from the previous day, as well as other distant memories, childhood memories, books they had read, holidays they had taken. Most participants viewed the messages as, I guess, a puzzle to decode, sometimes struggling with the uncertainty of their own memories. And the lamp's objectivity or accuracy were often debated, with some seeing it as being more objective, while others believed it kind of just reflected what they put into it. The lamp was also found to be a great conversation starter and fostered a sense of togetherness across the households. It became a shared experience that, eventually iteratively led to more conversation. People living alone, the lamp became a tool to regulate mood and structure thought, acting kind of like a diary. And at first, participants were uneasy about the lamp's introduction, but the familiarity grew over time. So they became more comfortable in its presence and also began contemplating the thoughts and the moods of the lamp itself, ascribing it some level of intention and agency. So perceptions of agency and autonomy are increasingly important in human-machine relationships, particularly when those relationships are involving AI. We still see the widespread anthropomorphisms of smart devices kind of reinforcing the notion that AI is akin to human intelligence. And gaps in the knowledge on AI technology often led to participants over or underestimating the functionality or the capability of the lamp. Some participants wondered whether the lamp was picking up on something beyond just language, like the general vibe or the mood of the space. This led into discussion around accountability of AI systems. The lack of transparency of generative AI does contribute to its creative potential, but it also presents ethically challenging aspects of its application in personal domestic contexts. Increasing the transparency, such as revealing the underlying data or code, help to alleviate concerns for participants around privacy. For example, just showing them the underlying transcripts brought about a lot of clarity to their questions around the lamp's perceived epistemic capabilities. But what I think was most interesting was that we found that the participants who the researchers, myself, had a closer relationship to tended to perceive the lamp as friendly and warm. So it seemed that the lamp borrowed some agency from the humans that created it. So this object was not entirely novel or foreign. It really served as an extension of its designer. And what we found in the end, I guess, is that the lamp is a social object. It joins a new member of this assemblage, altering the relationships between humans. But what the lamp is exactly is determined by these relationships that it forms. We saw that it served different purposes in different contexts. Our analysis also brought about a lot of discussion around the ethical implications of introducing AI technologies into these spaces, the need for transparency in these systems regarding their capability or their epistemological sense is super important. In our case, transparency could be easily given as I was involved closely in a relationship with these participants. I could show them the transcripts, explain kind of how sophisticated the technology of the lamp actually is. However, as we know, with the advancement of these kind of text comprehension and generation technologies like GPT-4, we will be faced with increasingly opaque systems. In lieu of a singular conclusion, this analysis led us as designers to better inform our conceptualization of this artifact that we created. It's foremost a social object rather than kind of a solitary artifact or a technological device or tool. This methodology of diffractive analysis allowed us to reorient our approach to evaluation. It's not so much about measuring objective success, but fostering discussion on the implications into the future of these technologies and ultimately asking the question, how will the human be altered by AI technologies?